When 8 men in fine-cut Italian suits came barreling towards my boat, stampeding across the dock like a band of coked-up horses, my heart sank deep. I knew what I was in for. Knew it down to my goddamned marrow. This job is going to be an absolute shitshow. Was I shocked? No, not exactly. In my line of work, shitshows are an occupational hazard. When wealthy elites need to disappear, I'm the sorry fucker who gets hired to smuggle them from point A to point B. I've spent more time than I'd care to admit bumping elbows with the upper crust, and they aren't as prim and proper as their diamond Rolexes seem to suggest. They're strange animals hiding in human skin. So when the McKenzie boys tumbled onto my small sailing yacht, this furious tangle of wild eyes and swinging arms, their behavior didn't shock me. I was curious, though. I slumped over the helm, watching the mayhem unfold. 8 maniacs aimlessly chased each other around the deck. Suddenly, it clicked. The chasing wasn't aimless. One of them was chasing the other 7, and if they caught someone, the chaser switched. You ever seen adult men play tag? It's a strange sight. Made my skin crawl. My boss, the disingenuous son of a bitch who actually owns the boat, did technically warn me. When I inquired about the job, Gio described the McKenzies in one word. Playful. He leaned back and lit a cigar, swivel chair moaning under his generous heft. I grimaced, tapping my foot against the tile, picking at stubborn hangnails. His office never failed to inflame my claustrophobia. Sunlight squeezed through a tiny barred window above his desk. Towering stacks of cardboard boxes wobbled along each wall, a city erected from moldy paper on the verge of collapse, threatening to bury us both in the rubble. Any chance you could elaborate? He scratched his double chin and puffed. You know, he started, pulling the cigar from his lips and waving it in circles, playful. Childlike. They enjoy games, Phil. His fat jaw curled into a smile. Anxiety coiled around my throat. Pain galloped along the stump where my right pinky used to be. Gio had the uncanny ability to make something as harmless as a smile look irredeemably vicious. Fuck this. I threw myself upright. I came all the way down here, and you're jerking me around? No deal. Find another playmate. I turned to leave. Why had I even bothered to hear his pitch? I'd been fighting to cut ties with him ever since he began dipping his gnarled, ringworm-infested toes into actual human trafficking. I could morally justify helping reclusive moneybags out of some legal pinch. But what Gio was getting involved in? No. Absolutely not. My hand grasped the doorknob, a feeling of pride growing warm in my gut. I was better than this. Then Gio muttered the only 4 words that could keep me in that hellhole. I'll waive your debt. My head snapped over my shoulder. How much? I mumbled, stomach twisting, pride curdling like decades-old custard. If there's a lesson to be gleaned here, it's this: your boss and your bookie should never be the same person. All of it. My pulse quickened. I couldn't have heard him right. You're serious? All of it? Every penny, no strings attached. This could be a massive payout, Phil, but my contact has specific requests. They don't want an amateur transporting their boys. They want someone who's proven they can handle themselves, someone who won't roll over and die at the first sign of trouble. Gil pressed his cigar into an ashtray. Not to say that there will be trouble, Phil. I know you've proven allergic to certain flavors of trouble as of late, no hard feelings, by the way. I respect your line in the sand, just as you respect my God-given right to privacy. He stared at me, unblinking, mashing the smoldering tobacco into the murky glass, harder and harder. Took me a second to realize that last sentence was a question, not a statement. Why yeah, of course. Haven't said anything to anyone. He reached a meaty paw over the desk. Great. You had me worried for a moment. Now, we got a deal? I nodded, sliding my 4-fingered hand into his grasp. The next morning, I'd find myself on that godforsaken boat, outnumbered 8-1 by a horde of well-dressed savages. The deck blurred with frantic motion. Footsteps hammered the wood. Excuse me, folks. Sweat trickled down my collar, and not just from the sun. Any second, one of them might vault overboard. My stump buzzed with phantom pain. The jagged scar where Joe's carving knife had met my pinky sizzled. And that was my souvenir for delivering damaged goods. God only knows what Geo would do to me if I actually lost one of the McKenzies. Excuse me, folks. The game shuddered to a screeching halt. Each McKenzie scampered away and hid. Sorry, didn't mean to startle y'all. One by one, they peeked out from behind sails and furniture, curious and wary, like toddlers sizing up a mall Santa. Once they spotted me, the McKenzies became still. Perfectly still. Unnaturally still. One had his back pressed into the door that led below deck, and I swear I couldn't even see his chest moving as he breathed. But we need to leave soon, and it ain't safe to be, playing like that. I trailed off, words withering to dust in my dry throat. My eyes drifted from man to man, statue to statue, fear crackling at the base of my skull. I hadn't noticed until they finally slowed down. The McKenzies didn't look right. Their beady eyes sat too far apart from each other, sockets nearly abutting their temples. Their skulls were wide, stout, almost rectangular, with a flattened top that seemed to cave in slightly at the center. Each had a subtle crease running from forehead to chin. They were short-statured, but broad, 5 feet tall, arms dangling below their knees, shoulders thick and pulpy. Their three-piece suits were all earth-toned, but each color was noticeably different. The bulkiest one had a pair of upturned nostrils jutting from their face, head-on. They looked like the tiny barrels of a fleshy shotgun. I think he was the alpha. Fear curled its talons around my spinning heart. They felt like danger. I turned my head, slowly, carefully. The gangplank was still connected to the dock. The path was clear of McKenzies. Should I just leave? Motion caused my head to flick forward. While the other 7 remained still, the alpha was creeping around the sail, crouched, pinpoint eyes glued to the one with their back pressed into the door. Calm down. You're overreacting. They're just odd. Inbred sons of some oil baron. Octuplets with a 1 in a million disease. What does it matter? It's a 6-hour trip. 360 minutes at sea, and then, poof, all of your debt, gone. The alpha prowled like a millipede, a whirlwind of tiny, silent steps, rapid and rhythmic. Although their arrival was thunderous, the McKenzies clearly could move without making a sound. They're odd. He stopped. Crouched down even further. Not dangerous. His muscular jaw creaked on its hinges. The interior of his mouth was wet and cluttered. Saliva dripped from graying teeth that were triple the normal size. He had no canines. No incisors. His gums were overpopulated with gigantic, charcoal-colored molars. He lunged. His molars glistened in the mid-morning sun. It was all so quiet. But just for a moment. The other McKenzie screeched like a bobcat in labor and leapt from the door. The alpha missed, sinking its molars into the oak. The commotion sent the other 6 into a frenzy. Wrestling. Yelping. Biting at each other. The alpha threw his shoulders back, dislodging his teeth from the door, scarring the wood with a ring of peg-shaped holes. I'm not sure what came over me. The bedlam spun me into my own little frenzy, I suppose, though, in my defense, they were acting like rowdy children. I took a massive inhale, placed a finger to my lips, and blew. *SHHHHHHHH. Just like before, the sound froze them instantly. All eyes returned to me. Something was different that time, though. The alpha mimicked my gesture. He gently pressed a finger to his lips without making a sound. Shook his head up and down with his eyebrows raised, like he was acknowledging something. Like we were sharing a fun secret. His mouth stretched. His lips trembled, drawing the corners side to side, straining to extend the flesh over his elephantine dentition. The others watched, then slowly copied him, prying open their crowded jaws. I think they were trying to smile. The McKenzies dipped their heads together, shuffled across the deck, and clustered by one of the rails. They clumped like blooming moss, closed their eyes, and stilled. That was it. That was the moment. They were on the opposite end of the boat, docile, deactivated. Escape was basically a guarantee, but my feet refused to budge. Joe's voice chimed in my ears. All of it. Every penny. No strings attached. It's only a 6-hour trip along the coastline. My heart thumped a desperate anthem. I tiptoed to the cockpit. One interminable, excruciating step after another. The McKenzies didn't move. I set my four-fingered hand on the navigation console. Dragged the other across the indent of the firearm that was tucked into the back of my shirt. I knew it hadn't gone anywhere. Still, I had to be sure. I mean, think about it, abandoning the job would be signing my death warrant. There's no place I can hide, no rock Geo couldn't find me under. I pictured them swarming, tackling me to the ground, gnawing into my belly and excavating my guts with blood-stained chunks of enamel. It's too late, I have to do this. I grit my teeth and flipped on the engine. The boat rumbled to life. I glared at the McKenzies, pulse thudding against the back of my eyes. They did not move. I nudged the throttle. We slipped away from the dock. I exhaled. It felt like the first time I had in hours. A sea breeze softly whistled. The sky was clear. The tide was meek. Perfect conditions for a peaceful jaunt along the coastline. A smirk slithered across my chin. Hell of shit show. Hours quietly passed. As far as I could tell, the McKenzies hadn't moved an inch. The contact expected his cargo to be delivered before sundown, and I was confident I'd meet that deadline. Both the ocean and the weather remained cooperative. The route was a straight shot, which meant I didn't need to keep my full attention at the helm. I set the navigation to autopilot, turned to face the McKenzies, and watched them like a hawk. I sipped at stale coffee. The sun tilted overhead, dipping toward the west. After a while, my vigil almost didn't seem necessary. The McKenzies were like a heap of corpses, eyes shut tight, stiff but knotted together,